tonight. A family is devastated after its savings were stolen by thieves. Also, Saskatchewan and Alberta sign an agreement to collaborate on nuclear power generation. Plus, you'll meet a Regina teen who gave a winning speech on optimism, inspired by his mom's positive attitude during cancer treatment.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, May 2nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. A family is devastated after their savings were stolen by cyber thieves. It wasn't a break and enter or even something they knew had happened, not until they opened their banking app. Aishwarya Duda reports.
What? I wasn't ready yet.
This family dreams of one day having a house of their own, a place for their young family to grow. Alana Renier worked as a young mom of two, giving up time at home with her babies to earn money. She worked hundreds of hours for $10,000 to help build a down payment. It was gone in the blink of an eye.
It's like that's my whole maternity leave. Like that is like I only work part-time.
Alana and her husband Caleb are caught in a massive Bank of Montreal cybercrime fraud. Over 100 BMO clients from across the country have reported a collective $1.5 million in losses. Caleb says the bank told them it's their fault because the transaction is tracked back to their device and IP address.
The early days, I was confident, of course, BMO would take care of us. And as it became more evident that they were planning not to, it was extremely defeating. And as I spoke to other people in our group who have had this happen a year or two ago and are still being told they're not going to get reimbursed, it's terrifying.
The Reniers say they're not sure about how exactly their nest egg was stolen. One day it was there, and the next day it had vanished from their account. We asked BMO about this, and they told us that the bank is determined to help protect Canadians from scams. There's also a class action lawsuit in the works, but the Reniers say they're not sure about how it will go forward.
Right now, we're pursuing legal action. We're speaking to a number of lawyers and law firms, and we're continuing forward. It's slow progress. We're gathering all the data. Currently also gathering in more people. Many are coming forward, which is adding to our case.
A representative of the group looking to launch the class action told us in an email that class actions take a long time to establish, but the plan is to bring a suit against BMO. However, for the Reniers, the idea of rebuilding years of savings while they wait is daunting.
It's not like easy when you just have $10,000 pulled from your account. So really it makes buying things for your children, you shouldn't have to think about that as much. And so, it's been a struggle to have that happen to us.
Yeah.
Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Saskatchewan and Alberta governments have signed a memorandum of understanding to further their collaboration on nuclear power. The minister responsible for Sask Power, Dustin Duncan, says this partnership can help navigate the pursuit of nuclear power. Both governments have expressed interest in establishing small nuclear reactors in the future. The agreement means the provinces will share information around creating a workforce, the security of supply of nuclear fuels, and the development and regulation of nuclear reactor technologies.
This just really further formalizes that relationship so that when we're doing studies, when we're doing evaluations of the technology, when we're doing work with understanding the regulatory environment, we're going to be happy to share that work with Alberta because they have an interest in not only seeing Saskatchewan proceed down this road, but potentially for Alberta.
Saskatchewan has committed to making a decision on whether to pursue small modular nuclear reactors by 2029. Sask Power says it will decide on a potential location later this year. The Crown Corporation says an SMR could be operational and providing power by the mid-2030s. A lot of conversation around drug decriminalization as BC looks to step back from a pilot project that allowed users a small amount of illicit drugs in some public places. Here in Saskatchewan, the government has remained adamant that we won't ever see it here. A former drug user that is now a social worker on the front lines of addiction in Regina spent some time in Vancouver. Rob Krauser has some thoughts on drug culture and what people need.
I always tell people this, like, things are different here in Saskatchewan than in BC. Like, with our public drug use and people using on the street, I get that it's super uncomfortable with people walking by with kids. In BC, they'll yell out, like, kid on the block, and everybody puts their stuff away, whereas we don't really have that here. We have a different drug culture here than in BC. I believe that Saskatchewan's drug culture with the people is more shame-based than it is in BC, whereas they're proud to advocate for themselves and things like that, and we're not quite there yet. My experiences with it is I used hard drugs for a lot of years, basically just on a long road to trying to kill myself, but it was masking trauma and not dealing with issues of things that had happened to me, and that's what I was trying to cover without even really realizing it. Not until after, when I was finally ready to quit and try something else, that I made the change. But those feelings, for me, like as a frontline worker with addictions and houselessness, the feelings that are associated with, I can relate to that because I remember feeling those, the hopelessness, the almost like robotic drive that keeps you doing drugs despite the consequences or despite what it's doing to you. Most of it was hiding feelings, and that helps me with my frontline work, just to be able to understand that, like, the way that lots of people look at the people on the street isn't the same way that I look at it. So, like, and I understand that people that aren't used to seeing public drug use, it feels like a safety concern because they aren't, it's not that I'm used to seeing it, but it's not, I don't consider it a safety concern for me. And I know that there's like a saying that's gone around, like safety over comfort, but it doesn't have to feel comfortable for everybody. And I realize that, and I'm aware of that. But for me, I don't love seeing people on the street struggling. And that's why I do what I do. But I know they're on the street struggling for different reasons. The houselessness crisis is way worse than it was when I was using. Same with the drugs. Like, I used fentanyl and injected it back then, like 9 years and something ago, and I didn't ever worry about overdosing, and if I did, it was not like it is now. So that things have changed, like, situationally, so the way that I did drugs isn't the same that they're going through, but the feelings are the same, and that's what helps me on the street and helps me relate to them.
You can watch more of this discussion from CBC Radio's Blue Sky on our CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Saskatchewan says it will now provide financial assistance to children and their families if they need to travel for medically necessary procedures. This as the province struggles with no pediatric gastroenterologists. Health Minister Everett Hindley says the province will cover up to $2,000 per trip.
If it's determined that this is necessary for the child, for the patient, that this is something that needs to happen and it can't be done here in Saskatchewan, and needs to be, and that child needs to be sent outside of our borders to get that necessary care, that would be part of the criteria.
Hindley says he's looking to make our program comparable to what's offered in other provinces. Many details do still need to be worked out, but patients will need pre-approval and to have a referral from their doctor. The change is retroactive to April 1st. A rumor about the future head of Farm Credit Canada that made it to the floor of the legislature has been quickly shut down by the Crown Corporation. Today, Saskatchewan United Party leader Nadine Wilson suggested that Farm Credit Canada could be moving head offices out of Regina to Quebec. Wilson and the United Party cited high-level sources. FCC employs more than 1,000 people in Regina and area. Premier Scott Moe spoke to reporters after question period about the rumor.
At this point, that's a rumor. Our Minister of Agriculture has been in discussions with FCC as well, ensuring that is the case, and he'll continue to be as well. And you know, I would just say this: when it comes to FCC, it needs to be headquartered here. And we would express and can express numerous times, as I did in that one introductory meeting that I had with the new leadership at FCC, this is the place for FCC to be centered because of what we do here in Saskatchewan and on the prairie provinces in agriculture that is not only leading the nation of Canada, but is leading the world.
FCC says there's no truth to the rumor. In a statement, it said, to be absolutely clear, FCC is not moving its head office from Regina. While FCC is a national organization with a national mandate, we value being part of Regina and share a passion for this community, along with our more than 1,000 FCC employees who call this community home. It goes on to say there is a lot of important work ahead for FCC as they serve their customers in the Canadian agriculture and food industry, and that is where their focus remains. 14-year-old Dominic Bernard has a pretty sunny outlook on life, and he's hoping to spread that optimism. The Regina student has won speech competitions at local and provincial levels. He'll be competing in Calgary this coming weekend, his speech partly inspired by his mom.
How to change the world with optimism? That is the golden question.
The day that he came home and said his speech to me, I knew it was on optimism, but I didn't know what it was specifically about. And it was really touching when I heard him read the part or say the part about me.
We all have heroes who inspire us every day. While many of them might be well known amongst the public, mine happens to be my mom.
When my mom was diagnosed with cancer not once but twice, I thought it might have been the end. This might be the last time I see her. It might be over. But it was actually her. The person with cancer taught me how to be optimistic and how to never give up.
First, I had breast cancer, and then that was in 2020. And then just a couple of years later, I had my ovaries out as prevention, and that's when they found ovarian cancer.
It's like my whole life and my mom's whole life just changed in a flash.
The biggest thing that we focused on is that your words and your thoughts create your reality. So you need to keep them positive, because if you do keep it positive, you have a much better chance.
And it's because of her, I never gave up. I never looked at this as the end again. And with the help of her view, my stepdad Gary's view, and everyone else around her that has supported her on the way, she survived this tough time.
As we stand here, ready to share our voices in this challenging and cruel world we live in, let's not forget the incredible power that we hold. As optimism doesn't just change our lives, but the lives of everyone.
My speech was more to lead people away from a pessimistic belief and lean more into that optimistic belief. It's taught me to always push through. It's taught me to teach others to push through.
So remember, let's be the change we wish to see in the world today. Thank you for listening.
Well, Sophie the dog is not the only one confused about the weather. People in Swift Current woke up to a blanket of snow this morning, followed by some sleet and rain. Excuse me. Most of it melted by noon, but it was still a damp and dreary day. So will we get to see the sun again by the weekend? Riley Lechuk will have your answer in his forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It is a highly challenging aspect of wildfire evacuations, moving large numbers of farm animals to safety. But last year's extreme weather has farmers in Alberta preparing ahead. Dennis Coveton reports.
After a dry winter and spring, there is plenty of dry grass and wood strewn about the fields and forests of the Peace region. Perfect conditions for a fire to take off.
Last few years have been challenging for us. We've went through fires, we've went through floods up in this part of the world.
And across the province, livestock owners like Gary Smith are putting together plans to keep their animals safe. That includes preparing them for an emergency.
Have your animals used to being moved around, have them used to having people around them if you can. With horses and some of the smaller livestock, sometimes it's very difficult to get them to go where you want them to go because they pick up on the energy and the excitement or crisis of the moment, and they might be a little harder to handle than normal.
The Alberta government recommends that producers also identify safe places to relocate their animals in the event of a wildfire.
Up here in Mackenzie County, we have emergency response plan for the agriculture, for livestock, whether it's horses, cows, pigs, whatever you got. We got the grazing reserve that we can house animals in evacuation purposes.
Alberta Wildfire advises producers to proactively share their plans and information about their animals with each other.
Some of these things can include what type of animals that you have on your farm, what kind of medications that the animals have, and any, anything high risk that you might have on your farm.
Smith says keeping a cool head is paramount, especially when animals need to be relocated.
To bring them out of the pasture, do it as you normally would, and pay attention to your stock. They'll tell you a little bit too, so follow along with them and move them into position, and then you can get them in the pens and do what you got to do, sort them out and get them loaded on the trucks.
And if the animals cannot be safely moved in time?
Last resort, cut your fences, run them through, and we'll gather them after the fire stopped.
Dennis Houghton, CBC News, Grande Prairie.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Truck time is on now.
A live look now at the city of Regina, where it's a pretty nice day today, but quite the mixed bag of weather across Saskatchewan. Our weather specialist Riley Lachuk joins me now with a look at your forecast.
Well, Sam, yeah, a little bit of everything across the province today. We're going to make our way west to east. We'll start in the west, where we did have a snowfall warning in place briefly this afternoon for the area around Maple Creek through the Cypress Hills. Could pick up another few centimeters as we get through the evening hours. As we make our way a little bit further to the east, yes, mainly a rain event as forecast for southern and southeastern parts of Saskatchewan, and even some thunderstorm activity. So really a mixed bag of everything today. Through the afternoon, you can see some lightning strikes just west of sort of the Parkland region, through the Fort Capel region, even into the Broadview region, seeing some thunderstorms and some lightning strikes throughout the afternoon. So yes, really a mixed bag throughout the afternoon. We start to see things improving as we get into the night tonight. So looking ahead here, as we get into the morning tomorrow, that snow through southwestern sections does start to taper off, but the wraparound from that system that is now working its way through Manitoba, bringing us a chance of some flurries early in the morning for places like Saskatoon, even as far to the east as Yorkton. Could get some flurries early in the morning, kind of on that dividing line between the rain and snow. For the rest of us, we do see a chance of some flurries or some rain showers as we head through the afternoon. I'm thinking more of a rain event for southern and central sections as we get through the afternoon tomorrow, as temperatures start to get above zero once again, but we really don't start to see an improvement until we get into Saturday. That's when we start to see our clouds starting to clear west to east across the province. So a mainly sunny day by the time we hit Saturday across really much of Saskatchewan. Looking at rainfall accumulation, precipitation accumulation, where we're expecting some of that snow and some of that flurry activity first thing in the morning, expecting about 10 to 20 millimeters by the time we hit Saturday throughout the southeastern part and central eastern part of Saskatchewan. Regina, Saskatoon into about that 5 to 10 millimeter range as we get through the day into the day on Saturday. Temperatures looking at quickly here, your wake-up temperatures, zeros and ones through the western part of Saskatchewan, 3 to wake up in the morning in Regina, and already at around or just above the freezing mark into the Parkland region there, where once again we could see some of this falling as some snow first thing in the morning. The winds will pick up as we get through the day on Friday as well. We're looking at winds out of the northwest 20, gusting 40 as we get through the day Friday, tapering off as we get into Saturday, and much sunnier conditions as we get into the weekend as well. So 12 degrees for Saturday, up to 19, a bit breezy on Sunday. Then our next weather maker moves in with the potential for some rain Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday for Regina. For Saskatoon, we're looking at temperatures rebounding closer to seasonal by the time we get to Saturday and Sunday. A lot sunnier as well. And Sam, yes, we do get a little bit of precipitation rolling through central parts of the province as well as we head into early next week.
A street in a small town in Japan has become a go-to spot for photos of Mount Fuji, but that's about to change because of construction. The problem is too many tourists, some even wandering dangerously into traffic. With Japan's currency down, tourism is up, and many consider this framing of Fuji behind a variety store as quintessentially Japanese, though pretty soon the view is going to be Japanese history. We'll be back after the break. U.S. officials are trying to contain a massive outbreak of avian flu in cattle south of the border. And scientists here are warning Canada is not being proactive enough and monitoring. Lauren Pelly has more on their calls for action.
South of the border, an unprecedented outbreak of bird flu in dairy cattle keeps growing. More than 30 herds across 9 U.S. states now have confirmed infections, and scientists warn the outbreak is even bigger than it appears. Government tests on processed milk found virus fragments in 1 out of every 5 samples.
The fact that we're finding viral RNA in pasteurized milk doesn't mean that there's virus in the pasteurized milk that's going to make people sick, but it does mean that there was an infected cow contributing to the milk supply.
Officials say there are no reports of this virus in Canadian dairy cattle, but there have been millions of infections among wild and farmed birds across the country, suggesting there's plenty of H5N1 circulating here, too. CBC News asked federal officials what process is in place to detect any traces of the virus in Canadian milk. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says that's not happening yet. They'll help with testing should H5N1 be detected in Canadian cattle. The agency is also requiring dairy cows imported from the U.S. to be screened for bird flu.
I think we're way behind the virus.
Scientists say Canada needs to be more proactive.
In the absence of a robust national surveillance program, there's no way to know if there is infections here or not.
At the University of Guelph, researchers are taking matters into their own hands. The team started tracking influenza in Ontario wastewater a few months ago to study trends in human infections. Now they're pivoting to see if any H5N1 shows up.
We're seeing very low levels, if any, of influenza right now. So if we should see a sudden spike, then that would certainly get our attention.
The hope is by tracking the virus early, there's a chance Canada could prevent an explosion of cases striking our dairy cattle as well. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, we still have a little bit more snow left to come through southern and central parts of the province as we head into the morning, at least for your Friday. Otherwise, we're looking at a mainly cloudy day through that southwestern corner. Kindersley, a high of 7 tomorrow, as is Maple Creek. Assiniboia, maybe some flurries first thing in the morning, 6 degrees, and the best chance of some flurries comes through eastern sections into the Parkland region. For Regina, waking up tomorrow morning to 2 degrees. Northwest winds gust to 30, and we're staying pretty cool as we head through the day, only getting up to about 4 degrees by the time we hit 4 o'clock in the afternoon. For Saskatoon, maybe some flurries first thing in the morning. Will be right around that freezing mark, tapering off by noon to a few showers, and we're looking at Sam a high of 6 tomorrow under a cloudy sky by late afternoon.
Riley. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask or /Saskatoon. You can subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel, or you can download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.